in the quiet corners of our collective imagination, where history and myth intertwine, there lies a story whispered on the ocean breeze, a tale of a city lost beneath the waves. Close your eyes. Imagine an endless expanse of deep, tranquil blue, the gentle, rhythmic push and pull of the tide, a steady heartbeat of the planet. This is the realm of our story, the vast, mysterious ocean that cradles so many secrets in its silent depths. Tonight, we journey not to a place on a map, but to a destination in our minds, a legendary island continent known as Atlantis. The name itself evokes images of shimmering towers, advanced wisdom, and a society that vanished in a single, catastrophic day and night. For millennia, this tale has captivated philosophers, explorers, poets, and dreamers alike. It's a story that speaks to our deepest curiosities about the unknown, about the heights civilization can reach, and the fragility of existence. The legend begins with the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, who, in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, first painted the picture of this formidable naval power. He described Atlantis as an island larger than Libya and Asia combined, situated beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now know as the Strait of Gibraltar. It was, he wrote, the heart of a great and wonderful empire. Picture it now. A city of concentric rings of land and water, connected by massive canals and bridges. The architecture was a marvel, adorned with precious metals. The outer wall was said to be coated in brass, the middle in tin, and the citadel itself. The inner sanctum flashed with the red light of orichalcum, a metal we can only guess at today, more precious than gold. The temples were vast, dedicated to Poseidon, the god of the sea, who was said to be the city's progenitor. The land itself was a paradise. Rich, fertile plains produced 2 harvests a year. Elephants roamed the island, and the earth yielded an abundance of everything needed for life, both practical and luxurious. The Atlanteans were not just wealthy. They were a society of brilliant engineers, artists, and thinkers. They lived in harmony, governed by laws of great wisdom and virtue, their society a testament to what humanity could achieve. But the story of Atlantis is also a cautionary tale. Plato tells us that for many generations, as long as the divine nature of their ancestors remained, the Atlanteans were virtuous. They were gentle, wise, and placed little value on the endless pursuit of wealth, understanding that true richness came from their friendship and unity. They were a people who seemed to have found the perfect balance. Yet, as time wore on, the divine spark within them began to fade. Diluted by mortal desires, greed and ambition began to cloud their judgment. Their virtue eroded, and they sought to expand their empire through force. Their noble character corrupted by hubris, they waged war against Athens and all of Europe, their power becoming a tool of conquest rather than a beacon of civilization. As we drift deeper into this story, feel the weight of the day, release its hold, allow your breathing to slow, to find a rhythm as steady and calm as the deep ocean currents. There is nothing to do right now, nowhere else to be. Just be present in this moment, and let the gentle narrative carry you. Imagine the salty air, the sound of water lapping against stone, the distant hum of a city alive with a vibrant, yet peaceful energy. Imagine the starlit sky above this island paradise, a sky that would bear witness to its final moments. Plato's account is chillingly brief. Angered by their arrogance, the gods, led by Zeus, decided to punish the Atlanteans. There came, he wrote, violent earthquakes and floods, and in a single day and night of misfortune, the island of Atlantis disappeared into the depths of the sea. Whose like that a civilization at its zenith, a world of unparalleled beauty and knowledge, was gone, swallowed by the very ocean that had nurtured it. It left behind no trace, only a story that has echoed through more than 2,000 years of history, fueling an endless search. Has this search been for a physical place, a sunken continent, waiting to be read, or is it a search for something else? A search for a lost golden age, for a piece of ourselves, for a warning about the perils of losing our way. The allure of Atlantis is not just in its mystery, but in its possibility. It represents a perfectible past, a world that achieved a level of harmony and advancement that we still strive for. The idea that such a place could exist, even in myth, gives us a blueprint for our own aspirations. and its tragic end serves as a timeless reminder of the delicate balance between power and wisdom, ambition and humility. Since Plato's time, the question has lingered. Was Atlantis real, or was it an elaborate allegory, a philosophical fable created by Plato to illustrate his ideas about the ideal state and the corrupting influence of power? Scholars have debated this for centuries. Some point to the detailed, almost historical precision of Plato's description as evidence that he was recounting a genuine tradition. He even provides a timeline, placing its destruction some 9,000 years before his own time. This has led to countless theories about its possible location. Some have suggested the Greek island of Santorini, which was devastated by a volcanic eruption around 1600 BCE, an event that shattered the Minoan civilization. Could the memory of this catastrophe have been passed down through generations, eventually reaching Plato and forming the basis of his story? Others have looked further afield, to the Azores, the Canary Islands, even to the Caribbean or Antarctica, searching for geological evidence of a sunken landmass. Each new underwater discovery, every strange sonar anomaly on the ocean floor, briefly reignites the hope that we are on the verge of finding it. But perhaps the true location of Atlantis is not in the depths of the Atlantic Ocean, but in the depths of our own minds. It is a landscape of the soul, a memory of a potential that lives within all of us. The story persists because it speaks to a fundamental human yearning for a world more perfect than our own, a longing for a lost paradise. It is a testament to the power of a story to shape our understanding of the past and our hopes for the future. As we continue our journey, let the details of this ancient world wash over you. Think of the peaceful inhabitants in the city's early days, their lives intertwined with the rhythm of the sea. See the light glinting off the canals? Hear the distant murmur of a society at peace with itself and its world. The legend is a lullaby from ancient times, a soothing whisper of what was and what could have been. Solon, the famed Athenian lawgiver, traveled to Egypt, a land already ancient in his time. In the city of Sais, on the delta of the Nile, he sought out the wisdom of the Egyptian priests, guardians of records that stretched back into the mists of time. He spoke to them of Greek myths, of Pharaonius and Niobe, of the great flood of Deucalion and Pyrrha, attempting to calculate the age of their own histories. The priests, with a gentle smile, listened patiently. One of them, a man of great age, finally spoke. "O Solon, Solon," he said, "you Hellenes are never anything but children. There's not an old man among you." He explained that Greek memories were short, wiped clean by periodic cataclysms of fire and flood that left only a few mountain dwellers to begin anew, without letters, without records. But here, in Egypt, the sacred Nile had protected their records. Their temples held chronicles of events long before the fledgling histories of Athens. It was then that the priest revealed a staggering tale. 9,000 years before their time, he said. Athens was not as Solon knew it. It was a city of renown, a leader of a great Hellenic power, celebrated for its noble government and its military prowess. But its greatest and most famous deed was one the Greeks themselves had long forgotten: the repulsion of a mighty empire that had emerged from the Atlantic Ocean. This empire, the priest explained, was centered on an island named Atlantis. It was situated in front of the strait known as the Pillars of Hercules. This island was larger than Libya and Asia combined, and from it one could pass to other islands, and from those islands to the whole of the opposite continent that encompasses the true ocean. For the sea within the Pillars of Hercules, he described as a mere harbor with a narrow entrance, but that other was a real sea, and the surrounding land might be truly called a boundless continent. On this island of Atlantis, a great and wonderful empire had arisen. It held sway not only over the whole island, but also over many of the other islands and parts of the continent. Furthermore, the men of Atlantis had subjected the parts of Libya within the columns of Hercules as far as Egypt, and of Europe as far as Tyrrhenia, which is modern-day Tuscany in Italy. This vast power, gathered into one, sought to subdue all the lands within the strait, including Athens and Egypt. It was at this moment, the priest recounted, that the city of Athens shone forth in the excellence of her virtue and strength. She was preeminent in courage and military skill among all the Hellenes. Standing alone when others fell away, she faced the gravest of perils, She defeated the invaders, erected a trophy of victory, and preserved from slavery those who had not yet been subjugated. Moritantach, she generously liberated all the others who dwelt within the pillars. But afterward, a day and a night of misfortune arrived. There occurred violent earthquakes and floods. The earth opened up and swallowed the warrior class of Athens. Simultaneously, the island of Atlantis disappeared into the depths of the sea. For this reason, the priests concluded, the sea in those parts is impassable and impenetrable, because there is a shoal of mud in the way, and this was caused by the subsidence of the island. This is the account as given to Solon, passed down through his family to Critias, the younger, who narrates it in Plato's dialogues. The timeline is precise, 9,000 years before Solon's time, placing the war and the cataclysm around 9600 BC. This date is striking. It aligns remarkably with the end of the last ice age, a period of immense geological instability, rising sea levels, and dramatic climate change known as the Younger Dryas boundary. The geography is equally specific. Beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the modern Strait of Gibraltar, lies an island larger than North Africa and Asia Minor combined. This description has fueled endless speculation. Could it be a continent now sunk, or perhaps a metaphorical reference? The mention of an opposite continent is particularly tantalizing, suggesting knowledge of the Americas, a concept utterly alien to the classical Greek world. The story presents itself as historical fact, meticulously preserved by the Egyptian priesthood. Critias, the narrator, insists on its truthfulness. Listen then, Socrates, to a tale which, though strange, is certainly true. He begins. He emphasizes that it is not a fictional allegory but a genuine historical record, a lost chapter of Athenian glory. This claim lies at the heart of the enduring mystery of Atlantis. Yet, from Plato's time to our own, the debate has raged. Was Plato recounting a genuine tradition passed down from Solon, or was he crafting a noble lie, a philosophical allegory to illustrate his own political and ethical ideas? In the asterisk, Timaeus, asterisk, the story serves as a prelude, a real-world example of an ideal state in action, a theme Plato would explore more deeply. The detail is what gives us pause. Why invent such a specific time frame? Why create such a detailed, albeit strange, geography? If it were purely an allegory about the hubris of a powerful empire and the virtue of an ideal state, simpler fictions might have sufficed. The names, the places, the narrative lineage, from Egyptian priests to Solon, to Critias, lend an air of authenticity that is difficult to dismiss entirely. The very texture of the tale feels different from other myths. It is presented not with gods and monsters in a timeless once upon a time, but with dates, locations, and a clear chain of transmission. The priests of Sais are not mythical figures, but historical types known for their ancient wisdom. Solon was a real, revered statesman. Critias was Plato's own relative. Plato seems to be deliberately blurring the line between myth and history, leaving us to wonder. Could there be a kernel of historical truth? A memory of a real Bronze Age catastrophe? Perhaps the volcanic eruption of Thera, magnified and transposed in time and place through centuries of oral tradition? Or is it a masterwork of philosophical fiction, designed to make us question the nature of history, memory, and the ideal society? The text itself provides no easy answers, maintaining a sober, factual tone that only deepens the enigma. It is a story that exists in the twilight between what is remembered and what is imagined. Critias promises to give a fuller account, to describe the society, the customs, and the city of Atlantis. In detail, he sets the stage for a narrative that will describe this lost world in all its splendor and its ultimate folly. Imagine a city, not of stone and mortars as we know them, but one born from the very earth and sea. Atlantis, according to Plato's account, was a marvel of design, a masterpiece of harmonious engineering. At its heart lay a central island, a sanctuary of peace and power. Encircling this island was a ring of water, like a protective moat gifted by the ocean itself. Beyond this, another ring of land, and then another of water, and so on, creating a pattern of 3 concentric rings of water and 2 of land. perfectly circular, as if drawn by a divine compass. It was a city in perfect union with the sea, its layout a testament to a deep understanding of natural geometry. These rings were not barriers but channels of life and commerce. The Atlanteans, masters of both land and sea, carved great canals through the rings of earth. The largest of these was a grand waterway, 50 stades wide, connecting the outermost ring of the sea directly to the central island. It was a majestic artery, wide enough for the largest ships of the age to sail through, bringing treasures and traders from the farthest corners of their empire right to the city's core. Imagine the sight. Mighty triremes, with sails billowing, gliding silently along these man-made rivers, passing under elegantly arched bridges that connected the land rings. The entire city was a living, breathing port, interconnected and accessible, a hub of maritime power unlike any the world had ever seen. The walls that lined these canals and encircled the city rings were not of ordinary brick or stone. They were clad in a metal that glowed with a fiery light, a substance spoken of only in legend. Plato describes it as a metal mined from the earth of Atlantis, second only to gold in value. Imagine the city at sunset, the walls of the outer ring gleaming like burnished brass, the middle ring shimmering like tin, and the inner citadel, the Acropolis itself, flashing with the red fire of orichalcum. The entire city would have appeared as if forged in celestial fire, a beacon of wealth and divine favor, its brilliance visible 4 miles out at sea, a breathtaking spectacle for any approaching vessel. The land itself was as rich as the city was magnificent. The plains surrounding the metropolis were incredibly fertile, yielding to harvests a year. Water from the great canals was ingeniously diverted to irrigate these vast agricultural lands, ensuring a constant abundance of food. And roaming these lush plains were great herds of animals, including the most majestic of all land creatures, elephants. Plato tells us there was a prodigious number of elephants on the island, more than anywhere else. Picture these gentle giants moving gracefully through fragrant forests and across verdant fields, a symbol of the island's untamed natural wealth and its connection to a wider, more exotic world. They were a living testament to the richness of the Atlantean ecosystem. At the very heart of the central island stood the sacred precinct, dedicated to Poseidon and his mortal bride, Critias. Here, a magnificent temple to the sea god dominated the skyline. It was a structure of immense size and beauty, with a roof of solid ivory, adorned with pinnacles of silver and gold. Inside, the statues were of pure gold. The most impressive was a colossal figure of Poseidon himself, standing in a chariot drawn by 6 winged horses, so tall that his head touched the ivory ceiling. Surrounding the temple were golden statues of the first 10 kings of Atlantis and their wives. It was a place of profound reverence and dazzling opulence, a testament to the Atlanteans' devotion to their divine ancestor. Another temple, this one enclosed by a wall of solid gold, was dedicated to Plato and Poseidon. It was here that the 10 kings would gather every 5th and 6th year, alternating, to deliberate on matters of the realm and pass judgment. Within this sacred space, they would conduct ancient rituals, capturing a bull without the use of iron, and making offerings upon a column of orichalcum, where the laws of Atlantis were inscribed. This column was the legal and spiritual core of the empire, a physical manifestation of the justice and order that governed their powerful confederation. The air here would have been thick with incense and the weight of history, a place where mortal rulers communed with the divine order of the cosmos. The city was not just a place of temples and palaces. It was alive with the hum of daily life. There were public baths, with separate springs for hot and cold water, available to all citizens, from kings to commoners. There were gymnasiums and training grounds for soldiers, and vast, dedicated racetracks for horses, built within the rings of land. The outer ring of water served as a bustling harbor, crowded with ships from all nations. The sheer volume of trade and traffic was immense, and the air was filled with a constant clamor of voices from every corner of the known world. It was a cosmopolitan hub, a melting pot of cultures, ideas, and goods, all flowing through the city's watery veins. The maritime power of Atlantis was legendary. Their navy consisted of 1,200 warships, housed in a vast network of docks carved into the rings of the city. Their influence extended far beyond their island home, The kings of Atlantis ruled over the entire island, as well as many other islands and parts of the opposing continent. Their empire was a confederation of power, a naval supremacy that commanded the seas. From their perfectly designed city, they projected strength and authority, their fleets a constant presence in the waters of the Atlantic. They were sailors, explorers, and conquerors, their destiny intrinsically linked to the great ocean that gave their kingdom its name and its boundless power. The rhythmic wash of waves against the city's outer wall was the constant, soothing heartbeat of their civilization. Countless cultures across the globe share a striking, primal memory. The story of a great flood. From the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh to the Hindu tale of Manu, from the Greek myth of Deucalion to the Genesis account of Noah, humanity has been haunted by the idea of a world submerged, a civilization washed away by an angry divine power, or a cataclysmic shift in nature. Could these widespread stories be fragmented echoes of a single, monumental event, a catastrophe so profound that its memory rippled through time, embedding itself into the collective subconscious of our ancestors? The story of Atlantis speaks of a powerful island nation swallowed by the sea in a single day and night. Is it merely a coincidence, or is Plato's tale the most famous version of a story told in 100 different tongues? A story of a lost paradise, a golden age obliterated by water, leaving behind only whispers and warnings for the survivors. As we sift through the layers of history and myth, we find tangible events that mirror Plato's account with uncanny precision. Let us journey back in time, to the Bronze Age, to the heart of the Aegean Sea. Here, the Minoan civilization flourished on the island of Crete. They were a sophisticated people, masters of the sea, renowned for their stunning art, grand palaces, like Knossos, and a seemingly peaceful society. Their influence spread far and wide, a beacon of culture and trade in the ancient world. But around 1600 BC, this vibrant civilization began a sudden, inexplicable decline. Palaces were abandoned, trade routes withered, and their power faded into the mists of history. What could cause such a swift and total collapse? For a long time, the answer remained a mystery, buried beneath the sea in layers of volcanic ash. Just 70 miles north of Crete lay the island of Thera, known today as Santorini. It was a bustling Minoan outpost, a jewel of their maritime empire. But Thera was also a ticking time bomb, a massive volcano. Around 1620 BC, it erupted with a force hundreds of times more powerful than any atomic bomb. It was one of the largest volcanic events in human history. The eruption blew the heart out of the island, creating the spectacular caldera we see today. It sent colossal tsunamis racing across the Aegean, waves that would have slammed into the northern coast of Crete with devastating force, wiping out coastal towns, fleets, and crippling the Minoan maritime infrastructure. A thick blanket of volcanic ash fell across the eastern Mediterranean, poisoning agricultural lands and plunging the region into a prolonged period of darkness and cold, a volcanic winter that would have triggered widespread famine. The parallels to the Atlantis story are chilling. A powerful island civilization, advanced and connected to the sea, destroyed in a cataclysmic event involving earthquakes and water. Could Thera be the real Atlantis? Could the Minoan civilization, in its final, agonizing moments, have been the inspiration for Plato's legendary tale? Its story passed down through generations of Egyptians until it reached the philosopher's ears. The timing, the geography, the nature of the destruction, it all aligns in a way that is too compelling to ignore. The story doesn't end with the Minoans. History is littered with the ghosts of sunken cities, real places that suffered the very fate described by Plato. Consider the ancient Greek city of Helike, in the Gulf of Corinth. In the winter of 373 BC, a century before Plato wrote his dialogues, Helike was a prosperous and influential city, a leader of the Achaean League. Then, one night, it vanished. Ancient writers, including Pausanias and Strabo, tell us that a powerful earthquake struck, followed by a massive tsunami that completely submerged the city. For centuries afterward, travelers reported being able to see the ruins of Helike's buildings beneath the waves. Fishermen would sometimes snag their nets on the submerged statues of the city's drowned Poseidon temple. Does this not sound familiar? A city destroyed by earthquake and sea, vanishing in a single night. Plato, living at the time of Helike's destruction, would have been acutely aware of this event. It's entirely possible that the very real, contemporary tragedy of Helike merged with older legends filtering out of Egypt, providing him with a powerful, tangible model for the downfall of his mythical island empire. It serves as a stark reminder that the earth is not static, that the sea can be a destructive force, and that what seems permanent can be erased in a moment. These are not just stories, they are geological and historical realities. From the global flood myths to the volcanic fury that consumed Thera and the earthquake that swallowed Helike, we see the blueprint of the Atlantis legend playing out again and again. It suggests that Plato's tale may not be a pure invention, but a philosophical allegory woven from the very real threads of human catastrophe and the enduring memory of loss. The dream of Atlantis is perhaps the dream of all that we have lost to the relentless power of time and nature, a ghostly reflection in the water, forever pulling us toward the depths of the unknown. The memory of Atlantis, though submerged in the waters of time, did not vanish entirely. It drifted through the medieval world, a ghost story whispered in the hushed halls of monasteries. Monks, poring over ancient texts by candlelight, would sometimes encounter Plato's tale. On Thera maps, the world was a disk, a tapestry of faith and geography, where Jerusalem often sat at the center. In the uncharted western seas, beyond the Pillars of Hercules, some would sketch a phantom island, a place marker for a land that was, or a land that might have been. They called it Antilia, the island of 7 cities, or simply the lost land from the old stories. These were not maps for navigation, but maps of the imagination, where the known world bled into the realm of myth. Atlantis, in these depictions, was less a historical place and more a symbol of a world before the flood. A paradise lost to human pride, a lesson written in water and ink. It was a footnote in the grand story of creation and salvation, a reminder of a forgotten age. As the medieval world gave way to the Renaissance, a new spirit of inquiry and discovery swept across Europe. The world was expanding, not just in the minds of scholars, but on the real, tangible maps of sailors and explorers. It was in this electrifying atmosphere that the German Jesuit scholar Athanasius Kircher turned his formidable intellect to the puzzle of the ancient world. In his monumental work, Mundus Subterraneus, or the Subterranean World, published in 1665, Kircher didn't just write about Atlantis, he drew it. He produced a map that would captivate the imagination for centuries. Unlike the monastic charts, Kircher's was a work of speculative science. It showed the Atlantic Ocean, but with a massive island situated squarely between Europe and the Americas. His Atlantis was a continent-sized landmass, a bridge between the old world and the new. The map was oriented with the south at the top, a convention of the time, making the familiar shapes of the continent seem alien and new. On T's chart, Atlantis was depicted not as a single island, but as a vast land with intricate coastlines, mountains, and rivers. Kircher, drawing on sources from Plato to Egyptian lore and the tales of explorers, believed this was the true heart of the ancient world, the source from which all civilizations sprang. His map was a bold declaration, an attempt to reconcile the classical myth with the rapidly expanding knowledge of a new global geography. It was a visual argument that Atlantis was not merely a philosophical allegory, but a physical place that had once been. The fascination with lost utopias was not confined to scholars and cartographers. It seeped into the very fabric of philosophy and literature, becoming a vessel for new ideas about society, science, and human potential. The English philosopher and statesman, Sir Francis Bacon, was a key figure in this intellectual awakening. In the early 17th century, he penned a novel he would never finish, The New Atlantis. Published posthumously in 1626, the story tells of a ship of European sailors lost in the Pacific Ocean, far west of Peru. After weeks adrift, they stumble upon a previously unknown island called Bens. This island, they learn, is the last remnant of the old Atlantis. But Bacon's interest was not in retelling Plato's story of destruction. Instead, he used the idea of a hidden, advanced civilization to explore his own vision for the future. The heart of Ben Saloum is a remarkable institution called Salomon's House, a state-sponsored college of science. It is a proto-research university, a place dedicated to the systematic acquisition of knowledge for the betterment of all humankind. The scientists of Salomon's house conduct experiments, gather data from around the world, and apply their findings to improve agriculture, medicine, and technology. Bacon's New Atlantis was not a look back at a lost golden age, but a forward-looking blueprint for a scientific utopia. It was a powerful argument that humanity's salvation lay not in rediscovering a mythic past, but in building a better future through reason, collaboration, and the methodical pursuit of knowledge. The name Atlantis was now a symbol of human progress. As the Age of Enlightenment dawned, the speculative scholarship surrounding Atlantis began to take on a more systematic, if no less imaginative, form. Scholars, no longer confined to monasteries, debated the topic in the newly formed academies and societies of Europe. The question was no longer just asterisk if asterisk Atlantis existed, but asterisk where? With the Americas now firmly on the map, a new and compelling theory emerged. Could the New World, in fact, be the old Atlantis? Writers and thinkers began to draw parallels. They looked at the monumental ruins of the Aztec and Inca civilizations, with their sophisticated stonework and mysterious origins, and saw echoes of Plato's description. They compared indigenous American myths of a great flood and civilizing gods to the classical and biblical accounts. The Spanish historian Francisco López de Gomara, in the mid-16th century, was one of the first to explicitly propose that the Americas were Atlantis. This idea gained traction, offering a convenient way to explain the presence of advanced, non-European civilizations, and to fit them into a classical, Eurocentric view of history. Others, like the Swedish polymath Olof Rudbeck, took a more nationalistic approach in his voluminous Atlantica, published in the late 17th century. Rudbeck argued with painstaking, if creative detail, that his native Sweden was the true location of Plato's lost civilization. He used linguistics, archaeology, and mythology to build his case, claiming the Swedish city of Uppsala was its capital. These early theories, while now dismissed, show how the myth of Atlantis was a malleable tool. It could be stretched and reshaped to fit new geographical discoveries and to serve various intellectual and political agendas. The search for Atlantis became a search for origins, a quest to find the fountainhead of all human culture, whether it lay across the ocean or in one's own backyard. The lost island was becoming a global mystery, with clues scattered across continents and through the pages of history, waiting for the right person to piece them together. Let's talk about a man named Ignatius Donnelly. In 1882, he published a book called Atlantis, the Antediluvian World. This book wasn't just another scholarly text, it was a phenomenon. Donnelly, a U.S. congressman and writer, gathered evidence from geology, mythology, and archaeology to argue that Atlantis was not just real, but the very source of all ancient civilizations. He painted a vivid picture of a technologically advanced, utopian society that met a catastrophic end. Donnelly suggested that survivors of the disaster spread across the globe, carrying with them the seeds of civilization, explaining the sudden appearance of pyramids in both Egypt and Central America, the similarities in languages, and shared flood myths across cultures. His book became a bestseller and single-handedly reignited public fascination with the lost continent. Donnelly's work laid the groundwork for nearly all modern Atlantis theories, transforming it from a philosophical allegory into a tangible, historical mystery waiting to be solved. He made Atlantis accessible and exciting for everyone, not just academics. Following Donnelly, the late 19th and early 20th centuries saw a surge in esoteric and mystical interpretations of Atlantis. One of the most influential movements was Theosophy, co-founded by Helena Blavatsky. In her monumental work, The Secret Doctrine, Blavatsky described Atlantis not just as a physical place, but as the home of the fourth root race of humanity, a race of giants with psychic abilities and advanced spiritual knowledge. According to theosophical teachings, the Atlanteans developed incredible technologies, powered by a cosmic energy force. However, their downfall came through moral and spiritual decay, as a faction turned to black magic and selfishness, leading to a great war and the eventual sinking of the continent. For theosophists, the story of Atlantis is a profound spiritual lesson about the consequences of hubris and the misuse of power. It's a cosmic drama of spiritual evolution, where the memory of Atlantis serves as a warning and an inspiration for humanity's future path. Then we have Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet. From a state of self-induced trance, Cayce gave thousands of psychic readings throughout the first half of the 20th century. A significant portion of these readings dealt with Atlantis. Cayce described a highly advanced civilization that existed for thousands of years. The Atlanteans, he said, harnessed the power of giant crystals to power their cities, vehicles, and daily lives. These Tuowi stones, or firestones, were immense, cylindrical crystals housed in domed buildings that could absorb and amplify energy from the sun and stars. Cayce claimed this technology was incredible but also incredibly dangerous. Misuse of these powerful crystals led to a series of 3 cataclysmic events that ultimately destroyed the continent. Cayce also spoke of Atlanteans migrating to other parts of the world, particularly Egypt and the Yucatan, before the final destruction, bringing their knowledge with them. He even prophesied that records of Atlantis, a hall of records, would be discovered near the Sphinx in Egypt before the end of the 20th century. Cayce's prophecies sparked intense interest, especially his claims about the location of Atlantean remnants. He specifically mentioned the area of Bimini in the Bahamas as a place where parts of the lost city might resurface. This prophecy gained startling credibility in 1968 when a pilot flying over the waters off Bimini spotted a massive underwater stone formation, dubbed the Bimini Road or Bimini Wall. It consists of large, rectangular limestone blocks, arranged in a neat, linear pattern, stretching for about half a mile. To many, this looked unmistakably man-made, a submerged road, a harbor wall, or the foundation of a massive building. Expeditions were launched, and divers explored the structure. Geologists have since argued that the formation is a natural phenomenon known as beach, where sediments cement together in the intertidal zone, fracturing into block-like shapes over time. However, proponents of the Atlantis theory point to the structure's straightness, the right angles of some blocks, and other nearby formations as evidence that it is too orderly to be natural. The Bimini Road remains a focal point of the debate, a tangible piece of the puzzle that keeps the mystery alive, sitting silently beneath the waves. The debate continues to this day, with scientists and enthusiasts presenting their arguments, each looking at the same stones and seeing something entirely different, either a trick of nature or the last vestige of a legendary world. The quest to pinpoint the exact location of Atlantis has driven countless expeditions, employing a fascinating array of modern technologies. Among the most common methods is sonar, specifically side-scan and multi-beam sonar, towed behind research vessels or mounted on their hulls. These instruments send out pulses of sound, or pings, across wide swaths of the seafloor. The returning echoes are then meticulously processed to create detailed, almost photographic images of the seabed's topography. This technique allows researchers to map vast areas, searching for telltale signs of submerged, man-made structures, patterns like straight lines, right angles, or circular formations that are unlikely to occur naturally. These sonar sweeps have been deployed in numerous locations, from the shallow waters of the Bahamas, where the Bimini Road was discovered, to the deeper regions of the Atlantic, methodically combing the ocean floor for any anomaly that might fit. Plato's description. Complementing sonar is the powerful tool of satellite bathymetry. This method doesn't map the seafloor directly with light, as water obscures the view. Instead, it uses radar altimeters on satellites to measure the precise height of the ocean's surface. These measurements are so sensitive they can detect subtle variations, bulges, and dips caused by the gravitational pull of underlying seabed features. A massive underwater mountain, or seamount, will exert a slightly stronger gravitational pull, drawing more water towards it and creating a tiny, measurable bump on the surface. Conversely, a deep trench will create a slight depression. By analyzing these surface variations across the entire globe, scientists can construct a broad strokes map of the world's ocean floors, identifying large-scale features that might warrant a closer look with ship-based sonar. This technique has been instrumental in ruling out vast areas of the deep ocean and in flagging potential zones of interest that were previously uncharted. When a promising anomaly is detected through sonar or satellite data, the next step often involves deploying submersibles. These can range from remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs, to human-occupied vehicles, or HO, tethered to a mothership, ROVs are equipped with high-definition cameras, powerful lights, and robotic arms, allowing researchers to get a close-up, real-time view of the target site without leaving the surface. They can hover over a feature, collect geological samples, and navigate through complex underwater terrain that would be too dangerous or deep for divers. Manned submersibles, while more complex and costly, offer the unparalleled advantage of direct human observation, allowing geologists and archaeologists to interpret what they're seeing with their own trained eyes, making on-the-spot decisions and gaining a true sense of scale and context. Over the years, these technologies have been applied to a wide array of proposed locations. One prominent candidate region is near the Azores, a group of volcanic islands in the mid. This location aligns with the idea of Atlantis being beyond the Pillars of Hercules and situated on the mid-Atlantic ridge, a tectonically active zone where land masses could potentially submerge. Sonar surveys here have searched for evidence of a sunken island, looking for submerged plateaus or terraces that might once have been above sea level. Some researchers have pointed to the unique geology of the area as being consistent with a volcanic event or subsidence that could have destroyed a civilization. Another focal point for exploration has been the Mediterranean Sea. Despite Plato's text placing Atlantis in the Atlantic, some theories propose that the story was a garbled memory of a real Mediterranean event, most famously the Minoan eruption on the island of Thera, now Santorini. Around 1600 BC, this cataclysmic volcanic explosion and the subsequent tsunami devastated the highly advanced Minoan civilization. Submersibles and marine archaeologists have extensively studied the submerged caldera of Santorini and the surrounding seabed, uncovering a remarkably well-preserved Bronze Age city at Akrotiri, buried in Osset. While not a perfect match for Plato's description in terms of size or timing, the parallels are striking, offering a compelling case for a historical basis for the legend, albeit one that was geographically misplaced and mythologized over time. Shifting from sea to land, one of the most visually stunning and debated candidates is the Richet structure in Mauritania, a geological feature in the heart of the Sahara Desert. Visible from space, it is a deeply eroded dome consisting of a series of spectacular concentric rings, spanning nearly 40 kilometers in diameter. Proponents of this theory draw a direct comparison between these rings and Plato's description of Atlantis as a city of concentric circles of land and water. They argue that the Sahara was not always a desert, and that ancient river systems might have once fed these channels. Geologists, however, overwhelmingly identify the structure as a natural formation on a symmetrical uplift that has been eroded over millions of years, with no archaeological evidence of a major civilization ever having existed at its center. Despite the scientific consensus, the visual similarity to Plato's account continues to captivate the public imagination. Fueling speculation and amateur expeditions to the remote site, the search continues, with each new technological advance offering a renewed sense of hope that we might one day resolve the mystery, whether by finding a definitive site or by uncovering the true historical inspiration for the enduring tale. The exploration of these sites, from the depths of the Atlantic to the sands of the Sahara, represents a fascinating intersection of myth, history, and cutting-edge science. What if the stories we tell ourselves about progress are incomplete? What if, scattered throughout history, there are glimmers of technology so advanced they rival our own, only to be lost to the sands of time? Imagine, for a moment, ancient civilizations not as primitive, but as possessing a different kind of knowledge, a different understanding of the universe's mechanics. We hear whispers of the antique Thera mechanism, a complex clockwork device salvaged from a Roman-era shipwreck, its purpose and precision baffling experts for decades. Was it a singular stroke of genius, or the last surviving relic of a forgotten age of mechanical wonder? Legends from across the globe speak of flying machines, or vimanas in ancient Indian texts, described with a level of detail that feels less like myth and more like a technical manual. Could these be poetic, fancy, or fragmented memories of a time when the skies were not exclusively the domain of birds? Then there's the persistent, shimmering idea of crystal power. We use crystals today in our watches, our computers, our communication devices. But what if ancient cultures understood their properties on a much deeper, more fundamental level? Tales from mythical lands like Atlantis describe massive crystals, glowing with an inner light, powering entire cities, providing light, heat, and energy. These stories suggest crystals could be tuned, like a radio, to harness Earth's natural energies, or even cosmic rays, converting them into usable power. Is it possible that what we consider folklore is a distorted echo of a lost science? A science that understood resonance and frequency in ways we are only just beginning to rediscover. These weren't just decorative stones. They were engines, batteries, and libraries of information. Their crystalline structures holding patterns and energies beyond our current comprehension. This leads us to the concept of a global energy grid. Look at a map of ancient megalithic sites, pyramids, stone circles, monoliths. You'll find them spread across the planet, from Egypt to South America, from England to the Pacific Islands. An intriguing theory suggests these sites are not randomly placed. Instead, they are nodes, deliberately positioned on what are known as ley lines, invisible pathways of terrestrial energy that crisscross the globe. The idea is that these ancient structures weren't just tombs or temples, but components of a vast, planetary system. They acted as antennae, drawing energy from the Earth and the atmosphere, perhaps even transmitting it wirelessly across great distances. Could Stonehenge have been more than a celestial calendar? Could the Great Pyramid have been a massive power plant? Its geometry and material composition designed for a purpose we can no longer decipher. The alignments are too precise, the construction too monumental to be dismissed as mere coincidence. It feels as if they were part of a grand, interconnected design, a worldwide web of energy. And with any grand design, there's always the question of what has been kept hidden. The narrative of suppressed discoveries is a powerful one. It speaks to our deep-seated feeling that there's more to the story than we're being told. Think of inventors who came forward with radical ideas for free, clean energy, only to have their work vanish, their patents bought and buried, or their reputations systematically dismantled. Nikola Tesla is often cited as the quintessential example, a visionary whose dreams of wireless power for all were allegedly thwarted by commercial interests. How many other brilliant minds have had their breakthroughs classified and locked away in a vault, deemed too disruptive for the established order? These stories suggest a hidden hand, a silent gatekeeper of knowledge, carefully curating the technological progress of humanity. Are there archives, hidden from public view, containing blueprints for technologies that could solve our greatest challenges? It's a compelling thought that the future we are striving for might already exist, filed away in a forgotten drawer, waiting for the right moment or the right person to bring it into the light. The line between myth and a hidden history is often blurred, and it's in that blurry space that the most fascinating questions reside. Perhaps the clues are all around us, embedded in ancient myths, carved into forgotten stones, or whispered in the tales of brilliant minds, silenced too soon. It's a puzzle that spans millennia, each piece hinting at a world far more complex and mysterious than the one we see every day. The patterns are there for those who choose to look, connecting seemingly disparate dots into a breathtaking, alternative tapestry of our past and, perhaps, our future. We see the remnants, the giant stone blocks lifted with impossible precision, the intricate artifacts that defy conventional timelines. Each one is a silent testament, a question posed to the future. What did they know that we have forgotten? The energy itself hasn't vanished. The ley lines, if they exist, still hum beneath our feet. The Earth's magnetic field still pulses with a steady rhythm. It might be that the technology wasn't just in the objects themselves, but in the consciousness of the people who built them, an ability to interact with the world on a level we have since lost. What if the key isn't to reinvent the wheel, but to remember how the first one was truly powered? The stones themselves seem to wait patiently, holding their secrets, until we are ready to listen in the right way too, ask the right questions, and to perceive the subtle energies they have been channeling for eons, a quiet, constant broadcast across the ages. The knowledge isn't necessarily gone, just dormant, waiting for a shift in our own understanding to be switched back on. The story of Atlantis has rippled through the waters of human imagination for centuries, leaving an indelible mark, not just on our maps of the ancient world, but on the very landscape of our culture and psyche. It's a tale that has been told and retold, each time reflecting the hopes, fears, and fascinations of the storyteller. In literature, Atlantis has served as a canvas for boundless creativity, Jules Verne took us on a breathtaking journey to its submerged ruins in 20,000 Leagues Under the Seas, painting a picture of a world both lost and hauntingly beautiful. It became a symbol of advanced, forgotten knowledge, a place where science and art reached a pinnacle we can only dream of. The very name evokes images of crystal-powered cities and wise, enlightened rulers, a testament to the power of a single story to ignite countless others. This literary fascination flows seamlessly into the world of film and art, where the visual potential of Atlantis is explored in all its glory. From animated adventures depicting a vibrant, living underwater kingdom to epic films showcasing its cataclysmic destruction, the city has become a staple of visual storytelling. Artists have rendered its towering spires and intricate canals, each interpretation adding another layer to its mythos. It's a visual shorthand for a lost paradise, a world of unparalleled beauty and sophistication, tragically swallowed by the sea. Ayak painting each cinematic frame is an invitation to imagine what was, and to feel a sense of profound loss for a place that may have never existed outside of our collective consciousness. It's a shared dream, rendered in color and light. But the influence of Atlantis goes deeper than just stories and pictures. It taps into our enduring fascination with utopias and our deep-seated anxiety about their fragility. The tale is often framed as a cautionary one. Plato himself described the Atlanteans as a noble race who became corrupted by greed and hubris, their divine nature diluted over generations. Their downfall serves as a powerful warning against moral decay and the dangers of unchecked ambition. It's a mirror held up to our own societies, asking us to consider whether our own technological advancements and material wealth come at a spiritual cost. Are we, like the Atlanteans, on a path to our own self-destruction, blinded by our own achievements? The myth forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about progress and its potential price. At its core, the legend of Atlantis resonates because it speaks to a fundamental part of the human psyche, what the psychologist Carl Jung might have called an archetype. It is the archetype of the lost paradise, the vanished golden age. This idea exists in almost every culture around the world. Memory, perhaps not of a physical place, but of a state of being. It's the Garden of Eden, Shambhala. It represents a time of innocence, harmony, and perfection that has been lost to the ravages of time or human failing. The longing for Atlantis is, in essence, a longing for a return to this primordial state of grace, a yearning for a world more perfect than our own. It's a nostalgia for a home we've never known but feel we have lost. This dream of a vanished golden age is a powerful and persistent one. It fuels our explorations, our art, and our spiritual quests. The search for Atlantis is not just a search for sunken ruins. It's a search for meaning, for connection to a grander, more noble past. It's the belief that humanity was once more than it is now, and perhaps could be again. This dream speaks to our innate optimism, our hope that somewhere, buried beneath the waves of history and myth, lies the blueprint for a better world. It's a story that tells us that even in loss, there is beauty, and in mystery, there is endless possibility. The enduring power of Atlantis lies not in whether it was real, but in its ability to inspire us to dream of what could be. The story of Atlantis continues to evolve, adapting to each new generation. In an age of climate change, the story of a civilization consumed by the ocean takes on a new and chilling relevance. In our digital world, the idea of a highly advanced society with lost knowledge resonates with our own anxieties about data permanence and technological overreach. The myth is a living thing, a vessel into which we pour our contemporary concerns. It reflects our own world back at us, its shimmering, watery surface, distorting and clarifying our own image. It is a dialogue we have been having with ourselves for millennia, a conversation about who we are, where we came from, and where we are going. The city under the sea is also a symbol of the vast, undiscovered territories within our own minds. The ocean has long been a metaphor for the unconscious deep, mysterious, and holding both treasures and monsters. The quest to find Atlantis can be seen as an inner journey, a dive into the depths of our own psyche to uncover hidden truths and forgotten parts of ourselves. It's a journey of self-discovery, of reclaiming the lost parts of our own inner world. The Atlantean myth encourages us to be explorers, not just of the physical world, but of the vast, uncharted landscapes of the human spirit. It reminds us that the greatest discoveries may not be of lost continents, but of the undiscovered potential that lies dormant within each of us. The allure is not simply in the mystery of a lost city, but in the promise it holds. It is the promise of rediscovery, the hope that what is lost can be found again. Whether it's a lost technology, a forgotten wisdom, or a more harmonious way of life, Atlantis represents the possibility of recovery and renewal. It is a story that whispers to us across the ages that no matter how much has been lost, the potential for greatness still exists. It's a beacon of hope in a sometimes dark world. A reminder that even after the most devastating cataclysm, life and legend can endure. The waters that cover Atlantis are not just an ending, they are also a beginning, preserving a dream for future generations to find. And so, we arrive not at an end, but at a precipice of thought, gazing out at the vast, shimmering sea of what might have been. The story of Atlantis, whether fact or fable, has become a vessel for our own reflections. A mirror held up to the ever-shifting tides of human existence. What is it about this lost city that holds us so captive, generation after generation? Perhaps it's not the sunken treasure or the advanced technology we seek, but something far more profound. A piece of ourselves. Atlantis is a story about memory. Not just a memory of a place, but the collective memory of humanity. It's a whisper of a golden age, a time when we were perhaps more connected to the world, more in tune with its mysteries. We yearn for this imagined past, a time before the complexities and compromises of our modern world. In a way, searching for Atlantis is like trying to recall a forgotten dream. Upon waking, the feeling of its significance lingers, even if the details are lost to the mists of time. It forces us to ask, what have we, as a civilization, forgotten? What essential truths have we left behind in our relentless march forward? But within this nostalgia lies a potent warning. The tale of Atlantis is, above all, a lesson in hubris. Plato tells of a noble society that, corrupted by power and arrogance, sought to conquer the known world. Their ambition, which once built a paradise, became the very instrument of their downfall. The gods, or perhaps nature itself, delivered a swift and terrible judgment. This is a story that echoes through our own history, isn't it? We see it in the rise and fall of empires, in the unchecked pursuit of progress at the expense of our planet. Are we so different from the Atlanteans? We build our own towering cities, bend nature to our will, and often believe ourselves to be masters of our own destiny. The story of Atlantis serves as a humbling reminder that the forces of nature, the very ground beneath our feet, are far more powerful than any human empire. It asks us to consider the delicate balance between ambition and wisdom, between creation and preservation. What is the price of our pride? And are we willing to pay it? The ocean that swallowed Atlantis is not just a grave, it is also a womb of possibility. For every wave of despair, there is a current of hope. The enduring myth of Atlantis is also a testament to our incredible capacity for imagination and our unyielding hope for a better world. We dream of a utopian society, a place of harmony, justice, and enlightenment. Atlantis becomes the blueprint for this dream. It's the idea that humanity is capable of creating something truly magnificent, something perfect, even in its destruction. The legend offers a strange kind of comfort. The idea that something so beautiful once existed gives us hope that it could exist again. It inspires us to build, to strive, to imagine a future that is brighter than our present. It's a story that says, look at what we are capable of, for good or for ill. It's a challenge to learn from the mistakes of the past to build a more sustainable, more compassionate future. And so, we are left with these questions, hanging in the air like sea spray. Is Atlantis a memory of a real place, or a metaphor for the human condition? Is it a warning against our own arrogance, or a beacon of hope for what we might achieve? Perhaps it is all of these things at once. The true power of Atlantis lies not in finding a physical location, but in the journey of inquiry it inspires. It prompts us to look inward, to examine our own societies, our values, our relationship with the world around us. It is a timeless fable that continues to evolve with us, reflecting our greatest fears and our most profound aspirations. The waves will continue to crash against the shore, carrying with them the whispers of ages past. The mystery of Atlantis will likely remain, a beautiful and haunting question mark on the map of human history. It doesn't need to be found to be real. Its reality exists in the way it shapes our thoughts, fuels our curiosity, and challenges us to be better. The legend is not a destination to be reached, but a current to be followed, leading us deeper into the uncharted waters of our own humanity. What we find there, in those depths, may be far more valuable than any sunken city. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the echoes of Atlantis. If these thoughts resonated with you, I'd be honored if you would like this video and subscribe to the channel for more explorations into the mysteries that shape our world. Until next time, keep questioning.